So I have a couple questions on your life in Iraq. My first question is, how did you stay in touch with your family while you're in there? While you're there?
Um, we had a little bit of email, but email connectivity was kind of intermittent, and a lot of times in the places I was, there was no email. We did have a Iridium phone on and off, so we were able to make phone calls for a short period of time. That helped, but for the most part, it was just email and phone calls on the Iridium.
What was the food like there? Like the Iraqi food?
So for, we had military rations. If you actually lived on like the rear area, they had really, really good food at the chow hall, but I was never really in that area. I was outside of the wire, as we call it, so kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And I worked with Iraqi Army officers in their Iraqi Army companies, so every day pretty much I'd go over there and plan missions with them, and I would eat their food. A lot of times it was just, I forget the name of the bread that they make, they have a name for it, but it was just bread that they would make by hand, and the flatbread, there you go. And it was pretty good. I mean, it was okay bread. But the biggest problem I had with food over there was for pretty much most of the 7 months I had dysentery, just due to the cleanliness of the conditions when they were preparing the food and things like that. So kind of made you sick, and food really wasn't enjoyable while I was over there. The Air Force rations that we had, or the MREs, meal ready to eat, that the Marine Corps side had, they were okay, but you get tired of the same thing over and over. And then the Iraqi food would just make you sick. So, needless to say, I lost a lot of weight afterwards.
That sucks. Well, what were the Iraqi people like there?
For the most part, they were very friendly. The Iraqi Army officer, the one who was in charge of the company that I worked with, he was really friendly. We got along great. Great guy. I got some stuff for his kids and his wife, for him to take home. One time when I leave, and he, when he came back, he brought some stuff for my wife, my kids. Just kind of simple stuff, but it was a good gesture. But they weren't all good. We had this one Iraqi Army officer. We knew we had a pretty good idea he was dirty. He went on leave at a separate time, and when he came back, he chose to ride with the enlisted, which is not normal for an officer to ride with the enlisted in the Iraqi Army. But he chose to, and during that movement back, the vehicle that had the Iraqi Army officers in it got hit, and most of them died. So maybe he was just lucky, but he also did a lot of other things that were very circumspect. So you had the good and the bad. The people out in town, they're just normal people, just trying to get by, trying to live, trying to survive, feed their family and make some kind of living, through life. So, I mean, they're just normal people.
Yeah. Was there something special you did for good luck, or something that you had for good luck?
There's a few different things. During the beginning of it, I got this little tiger, and my older daughter's a tiger, so I thought it was kind of cute, and it rode around in my Humvee with me, and I kept it with me the whole time as I went through, and I brought it back for her. I also had a fly swatter that I used for my driver, because I didn't want to hit him with anything hard, because he still had to drive, but sometimes he wouldn't pay attention. It was real loud, so I had to get his attention. So I always had my fly swatter. I always carry my M32 with me, which is an automatic grenade launcher. Maybe that's not a good luck thing, but I was hoping I'd never have to use it, but I was glad I had it with me. But no, that was pretty much it. I had my dog tags I carried with me the whole time. One of them had a picture of my wife and I on it that was etched into it. She sent it to me while I was over there, so I carried that with me. And that's kind of gone back and forth between her. That's a whole different story, but what else? I had a switchblade knife that I carried with me, and then I had my Iraqi, I call it my Iraqi rag. And it's just basically like a rag to clean your glasses with, but I've had that thing since then, and I still have it with me, and I've lost it so many times, but it always ends up finding its way back to me.
That's nice. What did you do when there was nothing to do and you were bored?
A lot of different things. I mean, we did have a generator, so we did have power, and one guy brought his PlayStation, but that would get tiring after a while, you know, when you're off time, you know, sitting there playing on the PlayStation. Sometimes we were bored, we'd just sit there and throw our knives against, you know, we had a wooden wall and just see who could hit the middle of the bullseye. Played a lot of cards, a lot of spades. In fact, when we first got there, when we were doing our RIP, our relief in place, the checkpoint that we took over, me and my spades partner, Agide, he and I ran a Boston first game on the guys we were playing against. So the rules of that is we get to pick where they sleep, and we made them sleep in the moon dust outside, which the moon dust over there is nasty. We made them sleep outside the moon dust. And then we about half the night, and we kind of felt bad, so we let them back in.
While you were there and you guys were bored, did you guys like pull any pranks or anything?
No, Marines just do stupid things to begin with. So like when they would have to go outside and burn the feces, sometimes they would take the stick of the burning feces and fling it at each other because they thought it was funny. Marines just do weird things for no apparent reason. I don't really remember too many practical jokes. It's not kind of a practical joking environment, like to try to set up a joke or anything.
Yeah. Did you feel like any pressure or stress while you were in Iraq?
Pretty much the whole time. When you first get there, you feel a lot of stress because you don't know when you're going to get shot at. You don't know when you're going to get blown up. You don't know when somebody's going to try to shoot you with a mortar round, or you know. And after a while, you actually end up becoming kind of numb to it. You stop thinking about that, and the boredom takes over. There's 90% of a deployment to, you know, Afghanistan, Iraq, or any one of those countries is dealing with the boredom, because you can do 100 patrols and 100 times. It doesn't matter, you know, you go over and over and over again, but it's on that, you know, 1001th patrol that you get hit, you know, and then the time period that actually anything happens is so short and minuscule. But it seems like forever in your mind. But the rest of the time, you're just constantly trying to deal with either boredom or, am I going to die tomorrow? Am I going to die today? You know, don't know.
Mm-hmm. How did you cope with the stress from being there, like, and being in the war and away from family?
Just a lot of it. I think everybody handled it differently. For myself, it was just mental fortitude. Like, I didn't let things get to me. A good example is we were at the MHC. We got mortared. It was like one of the first times we got mortared, and you know, everybody's kind of freaking out. You know, we're getting mortared, and they're kind of close, and one of the officers, I won't say who, but you know, he kind of got scared and jumped underneath the desk and started yelling on the radio. And I was just, everybody, no, not everybody, but most everybody was just kind of standing there. Some people were kind of nervous, but I was like looking at him like, there's nothing you can do. If a mortar hits here, you're either going to live through it or you're going to die. You know, jumping around and doing all that's just not going to change the dynamics of the situation. So for me, it was just not letting things actually, you know, get to me. And you can say that, but it was just a matter of, I mean, if you're going to die, you're going to die. There's nothing you can do. You can try to, you know, do all the right things, take all the right steps, but at the end of the day, stressing out over it's just not going to help. And it's going to cause more problems than good.
Well, thank you for answering the questions for segment 4.